It wasn't supposed to rain that day. The forecast said light drizzle at most, so of course I left my umbrella at home. By the time I ducked into the cafe on the corner, I was half soaked, hair sticking to my forehead, shoes squishing with every step. The place was crowded. Apparently, half the city had the same idea. Escape the downpour and wait out over overpriced coffee. Every table was taken, except for one small two-seater by the window. One seat was already occupied. That's where I first saw her. She was shaking out her umbrella, muttering something under her breath, clearly just as drenched as I was. Dark hair pulled into a loose braid, a book splayed open in front of her, hands wrapped around a steaming mug. She looked up at me with the kind of weary smile people give when they're resigned to sharing space. "Go ahead," she said. "I don't bite." So I sat. I pulled my laptop out, pretending I had work to do. But really, I was just trying to shake off the nerves. Sharing a table with a stranger wasn't unusual in the city, but something about her presence made it feel charged. "You're dripping on my book," she teased after a minute. Sure enough, a raindrop had fallen right onto the corner of her page. I scrambled for a napkin, muttering apologies, while she laughed. "It's fine. Adds character," she said, dabbing at the page herself. Then with a sideways glance, "So, are you the type who always forgets umbrellas? Or did you just trust the weather app too much?" And just like that, we were talking. Her name was Sarah. She worked in publishing, which instantly explained the stack of books in her bag. I told her I was in marketing, which sounded less impressive the moment I said it, but she didn't seem to mind. We talk about small things first. How miserable wet socks are, how the barista always spells her name Sarah without the H, how she secretly preferred tea, but couldn't resist the cafe cinnamon lattes. Then it got deeper. Favorite books. Childhood dreams. The kind of silly questions you only ask strangers when you know you might never see them again. "What's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?" she asked me. "Honestly," I said, "sitting down here instead of just waiting it out outside." She laughed. "Wow, living dangerously." The cafe grew louder as the storm pounded harder outside, but somehow it felt like we were in our own little bubble. She told me about the time she tried to assemble a dresser and ended up with an extra drawer that didn't fit anywhere. I confessed that I once locked myself out of my apartment barefoot, holding only a slice of pizza. We laughed so loudly that the couple at the next table gave us annoyed looks. But I didn't care. At one point, she leaned across the table to show me a passage from her book. Her hand brushed mine just briefly, but enough to make my pulse jump. She didn't pull away right away. And maybe I imagined it, but I thought her cheeks pinked a little. The storm outside didn't let up, but I wasn't in any hurry anymore. What started as a few polite exchanges stretched into hours. The cafe emptied and refilled. The baristas changed shifts. And still, we sat there, two strangers who suddenly felt less like strangers. "Do you realize we've been here for 3 hours?" she said finally, checking her phone. 3. I blinked. No way. But it was true. The world outside had blurred, and time inside that cafe had been around us. As the rain finally softened, she looked at me with a half-smile. "So, is this the part where we say goodbye and pretend we'll run into each other again, or—" She trailed off, waiting. My heart thudded. I could have played it cool. I could have left it as a nice memory. But something about her, about the way this felt, made me braver than I usually am. "Or," I said slowly, "we exchange numbers and make sure this isn't the last time." Her smile widened. "Good answer." We walked out together, umbrellas half shielding us from the drizzle. At the corner, we went separate ways, but not before she turned and said, "By the way, Daniel, because of course we'd exchanged names somewhere in there, I think this might be the best rainy day I've ever had." I watched her go, the city still slick with rain, and realized I was grinning like an idiot. It wasn't planned. It wasn't dramatic, but it felt real. And sometimes the best love stories are the ones we never see coming.